We are very happy to have Raphael Gualazzi today for audiophile interview. My name is Anne-Kathrin and I'm presenting the young Italian jazz pianist and singer, and we will hopefully enjoy a nice interview.
Feel.
Raphael, are you named because of the great Italian artist Raphael?
Well, it's a long story, because the first project that I ever done, the first album I released was Love Outside the Window in 2005, and when my first executive producer had to find like a nickname for the album, something to probably to make it more interesting. There was a project to release the album in Brazil in occasion of a beautiful tribute to Tom Jobim. In fact, I wrote like a cadenza inspired to Girl from Ipanema. That should have been like a part of a rhapsody composed by many pieces of Tom Jobim, many songs of Tom Jobim. And the problem is that then the project didn't start from Brazil, so he wanted to give me this name like Raphael because he thought that it was better for the first release and for the Brazilian language. But at the end of the day, I never went against this idea, because also it's true that Raphael is a really big painter from my birth town, from the 15th century. Yeah, and so I never had any. I just care about music, and I don't care about names and stuff. That's not my job. Yeah.
Your careers, or not your career, but you got famous in Germany when you have been at the Eurovision Song Contest in 2011.
Yeah.
And did you feel sometimes misplaced there? Because you have been between Put My Lipstick On and Lena with a Stranger.
Well, I think that music can be beautiful, apart from the genre of music, it doesn't mean a thing. You can write a beautiful disco song, you can write a beautiful jazz song, you can write a beautiful classical song, it's not the genre of music to impress me. Of course, the Eurovision Song Contest was a little bit more spectacular, and the choreographies were had a lot of importance, and
sometimes the most important or more important than the music, right?
Well, not necessarily, it's just that it's a show where the choreography is important, the dancers and the effects, are really important. I decided to bring my song, because it was a fantastic opportunity for me to just promote my song and talk about many jazz musicians and spread a little bit more the jazz culture. And it was fantastic playing in front of 100 million people, 100 million viewers, and probably like 37,000 people in the arena. So it's just it was a fantastic experience. Every experience has something to teach to us. When you're doing this job, you have just to learn.
So you did something like name dropping within the interviews. You dropped a lot of names of the people or the musicians who did influence you as a young boy or a young musician, right?
Exactly. I was talking about Fats Waller, Roosevelt Sykes, Errol Garner, Dorothy Donegan, and it was really nice to see journalists interested in this kind of music and this kind of stuff, and there were a lot of journalists. I mean, it was a huge event, and I think it was a fantastic experience for me. I don't have any kind of cliches about it, you know. I mean, I attended the Sanremo Festival in Italy. I wrote my songs. I went to jazz festivals all over Europe, France, Germany, Italy. I went to different kind of, I participate to different kind of events, festival or concert with different kinds of audiences, venues. I think everything is an experience where you have to just to learn, and that's a long way, and there's always something new under the sun, and it's really good because you have the opportunity to do what you love, which is like for me playing my music, playing my songs. So I think that I'm really lucky actually.
And it is normally rather the opposite, that people have prejudice against jazz and not vice versa, right?
Could you repeat that, please?
That the people, or also the artists and the interviewers you talked in course of the Eurovision Song Contest, they had prejudice against jazz and not you against other sort of music, because you're including a lot of different types of music in your songs.
Yeah, exactly. I always had this eclectic approach to music, because I was born as a musician. I started my career as a musician, and so I never want to get bored, about music, and I totally understand musicians on stage, and they want to have fun, and to have fun, you cannot play for 2 hours the same kind of mood, the same kind of rhythm. You want to change it, and you want to have interaction with them. You want to, just have fun as a musician as well, not just as a performer, not just as a songwriter. So that's what I did. That's my point of view regarding the production. That's my point of view regarding the arrangements and the songwriting.
That's something we can hear on this new album, Happy Mistake. Ta-da, here it is. Which is really very diverse. But I had the impression you really enjoy what you're doing. Did you, or does anybody have the opportunity to scream as you do on this album in normal life? Or do you use your music to scream?
Well, I think that music is a beautiful way to scream out of the piano or scream, with your voice. I mean that if you start playing an instrument, or if you start being a musician or a poet or an artist or a painter, you probably have something to say, and you find easier to say it in that way,
Your voice is really loud, and also your way to play the piano is very where you have a very hard accent. You would, if you translated it into a language on the piano. But you also studied classical piano. Does this make the difference between a classical piano player and your way of piano playing?
Well, I think that I studied classical musicians. At the same time, I was strongly influenced by the New Orleans style of music. So I'm referring to such percussive bluesmen as Champion Jack Dupree, as Harry Butler, for example, or I don't remember the other name. I can be soft, I can be strong. I like sometimes to be percussive on the piano. I feel the piano as something to stomp your hands on. And I feel like sometimes the piano can be like a silk, and sometimes it can just be, hammer. I mean, it's such an amazing instrument, and the way that they play it down in New Orleans is really like to give a proper sound from the acoustic instrument, to make the difference to each other. You know, it's really percussive to grab the attention of people in crowded places. You know, and that's probably the same kind of approach I had at the beginning when I was playing in clubs and stuff like that. You know, yeah. Sometimes I like to play soft when I play like really romantic moods, and I like the dynamic of piano. But when it's time to do forte, I will be really forte. You know?
Maybe in classical music the pianos are better, newer, with a better technical construction or interior, and you can play softer. And then in New Orleans they had to play really percussive because the instruments were that bad, maybe.
Well, it's just a different kind of situation, you know. The ragtime technique, the stride piano technique, is the piano is really have to make people dance, you know. In rent parties, most of the lineup that you can find, you know, at the beginning of the century, for example, you will find sometimes the piano, but you will find the drum just later, you know, because the drum was invented quite later, you know, and the piano had also a percussive, you know, a rhythmic issue, you know, a rhythmic skill inside the band, you know, and that's why New Orleans pianists use the piano in all its range, you know, from the bass to the medium to the up range, playing with polyrhythmic chords and movements, you know, mixing rhythms and styles, and using some reminiscence of the classic European culture, you know, and that's amazing. I love that kind of music. I think you'll never finish to learn it, and classical music always can teach you something about this genre of music. They are strictly connected, you know.
What would your classical teachers say if they listen to your music today?
Well, when she came once to my concert, and she was actually really happy about that, you know. Yeah, I think that a good musician is never close to a genre of music, you know. It's open-minded because he's not scared about something that is out of the circle, no, out of its definition, you know.
And how many percent would you say in your music is improvised, or is there any improvisation within your music?
Well, absolutely. Mostly in the live, during the concerts, there are a lot of improvisations. I rearrange my songs with a different arrangement, and there are a lot of interplays between musicians, and of course improvisation is a really important aspect.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And when did you first sing to your music? Because you sang in a choir as a young boy, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. I started in a Gregorian choir at the age of 9 years old, but which is
really different from what you're doing today, right?
Yeah, but you know that our teacher was really good, and our set list in that choir was like one song in German, one song in Latin, one song in the dialect from the I don't know, 13th century. You know, one song in French. You know, it was everything was discovering something new. You know, and that was really helpful for the way, for my kind of approach. You know, and then I just focused on the piano. And I began to write songs seriously at the age of 19 years old. I was, you know, I wasn't taking myself seriously too much. And then one day, a friend of mine, which was a saxophone player who played also in the first tour I did, he told me, "Yeah, do you have this song? Why don't we just record it?" You know. And I say, "Yeah, what are you talking about? You know, this is just fun." No, just I have a grand piano at home. Why don't you come there? I have a mini disc, you know, like a voice recorder like that, you know, and we can just record it, just to fix it, you know, just to have it there. Otherwise, you can forget about it, you know. And I say, okay, let's do it. So I just went there. We have a couple of drinks, and we just chill down, play rec, and we recorded it. We recorded all the session, and then I gave this to a producer. It was really unprofessional recorded, you know, really bad everything, from the lyrics, the grammar, the way they were recorded. But there was something, there was a spirit in it, you know, there was something like a passion for a certain world. And so I began to just fix my little problems, and just to trying to make it better. And then I did in 2005 my first album, and then I don't want to tell all the story, but you know, it's how you start, you know, usually.
You have a good website where everybody who's interested in your life can read your biography. So to have these years between the first album and this album filled up. But how many espressi do you need to scream like on this album? How many espressi do you drink before you're doing music or going on stage? Or is it rather a beer or something, or red wine?
No, usually it's water.
Okay.
No, usually it's water. And yeah, a good espresso coffee in the morning, why not? And drinks, maybe if there are any glass of wine, maybe they are after the concert, because I love to feel music like it's too beautiful, and I'm too respectful with music.
I thought for the energy kick, you know, the caffeine. So for
but, you know, sometimes it's some pasta as well. It's nice before just pasta, not sauce or stuff like that. You know, it just gives you a right boost of carbohydrates. You know, and maybe you need it for 2 hours.
But not aglio olio if you're playing with others. So for the solo concerts, aglio olio is okay, but not if you're playing with your ensemble. Would you say there are some languages that are better for singing? Well, so I love the Italian songs on the new album.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably, you know, I think that the Italian language is beautiful, and I think that it's more proper for how can I say, probably slow tempos. Slow tempos just give more importance, the importance that the Italian language deserves, because we have long words, sometimes words that needs to be really said intensively, you know, because that's part of our culture. And instead, English language is really versatile, and really good for like percussive rhythms, fast rhythms, you know, and that's why it works so nice in funk music, or, you know, up tempo in general. You know, so I like to use both of them, you know.
So this is also the heritage of, or the influence of the cantautori, this Italian style, because the ballads are rather, I would say, pop or singer-songwriter, and the English songs are more the jazz songs.
Yeah, exactly. I think that I was influenced by. I don't have a huge culture about Italian songwriters, but I appreciate a few, which are like Fabrizio De André, Bertoli,
Baglioni.
Yes, probably, but more Fabrizio De André, and maybe also Paolo Conte himself. Yeah, I appreciate a lot of other. I'm just discovering now, you know, because I don't have a lot of knowledge about Italian music. I really like poetry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Parazzeschi, I love Ungaretti, I love Pascoli, you know. So
I think this is a really good mixture of having the ragtime, the stride piano things, and now the cantautori stuff. And I think you can hear it on this new album, and I really enjoy it, and you have to buy this album. Thank you very much for the interview, Raphael.
thank you very much.
Au, di, o, feel.